Okay. Let's see.
And people are leaving the offices now. Internet will be free.
Yeah, that's good.
So it'll be smoother.
All right. Hello, everyone. Are you seeing this? Let me know if it's any
One,
better.
two, test.
Test, 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 test. Ding, 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 ding.
Hello again.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh, people are. Cammy says it's better. He says he can hear okay.
Yay.
Yes, that is a good sign. I'll wait for one or two more people to chime in to see if it sounds good for them.
Okay.
And if not,
Amazing.
uh,
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you
yay.
for staying with us.
Okay, so I have gotten two people confirming that the stream is much better. It's a little lower quality in video, but at least the sound is still high quality, and that's number one. All right, great. Lots of people saying video and sound okay. Okay,
Yay. Amazing.
awesome.
Cool.
Woo! God, so
We're back.
stressful. All right, so, all right. I think on that note, it's time for me to crack open a beer.
Okay, I'm still
Okay,
on coffee time, but I will morally support your beer.
perfect. So,
Cheers, bro.
cheers. So, one thing I like to start with, the elephant in the room is we're both touring musicians and we're both in the middle of a pandemic. How's the last year been for you? Personally and musically and all that.
A good roller coaster ride. I would say, so many different waves and different experiences. But if I look back, it's been in a way like huge year of learning, and it was a way for me to reconnect with family, with my partner, with close friends. Coming back at home for a longer period. I'd say, you know, reset up some deeper roots. And musically, it's been a way for me to explore different type of music making. Taking a break from the dance floor allowed me to explore different styles without rhythms, a little bit more atmospheric, ambient. I started working on my first album project, which has been probably the first few months of this whole year that we all experienced. Feels like it was a way for me to channel everything that was going on. Um, and then a lot of like slowing down, like taking time to imagine other ways to do what we do outside of, maybe traveling and outside of depending on external conditions to be able to do what we do. So I think it made me reflect more on resilience, and the teaching aspect is something that I've been definitely wanting to do more. The studio aspect is something I was so happy to reconnect with.
Yeah.
And I believe that it takes like a while to get back in the studio group, right? Like to do a little bit of it every day, and between tours we have a week or two. It feels like we're trying to make something happen, but it's rushed. I don't know if you felt the same. How has it
Totally.
been for you?
For me, overall, it's been. I think the highlight event that happened for me during the pandemic was having a son, and that
It's
kind of
epic.
took the bulk of my all my attention. So the idea of making music even through the pandemic was a distant memory, but just the last couple weeks, I finally got in the studio again. We got some childcare help, and it's been really really nice without the pressure of being on the road so much and being able to focus on music and being home. It's been really really nice, and I've been playing with a new DAW, Bitwig. I've been experimenting with that, switching
Oh,
off of Ableton a
cool.
little bit, and that's been fun. But I think one interesting that you talked about was the resilience of the last few months, and it's definitely taught I think many of us how to persevere, how to come through. And I think for me, one of the things I looked at a lot during these situations was how to look at setbacks as opportunities. Rather than it was definitely difficult, but rather than feeling sorry for myself or this sucks, say, well, this is an opportunity for me to, okay, if I wasn't having a kid, this is an opportunity to make music or start the Twitch or the live stream or even Discord demo day like this. Like, we find ways to really enjoy what we're doing in other types of ways and other dimensions and perspectives. So that's kind of my my theme that I've been trying
Totally.
to.
And I yeah, sorry, there was a delay here. Yeah, like I feel that I was so impressed by how fast your turnaround was when everything happened. You were like like you literally, the first in my circle of friends who had like, your weekly sets, on Friday night, and all the organization of the Twitch and all that project. And I was really, really, inspired by how you've done it. And I completely agree with you. I think, we're so lucky, to live where we are with everything going on in the world, with Mother Nature, sending us pretty intense signals of, that we need to change the way we do things. And to be able to be here right now, talking about music is the best thing ever. So down the line, I'm just so grateful for everything. And it's to look at like all those ways of like, maybe building things a little bit more locally, working a little bit differently in terms of like the ratio between touring and spending time in other creative activities. Either it's studio, you did a lot of educational stuff on your end, with your community that you've been building, and all that stuff. I think even like brought, I think, the music audience and the artists even closer. And it's not only the shows anymore that are places where we can connect, and all that stuff like Patreon and the communities. I feel is something that came out of that year that is really cool and beneficial to close the gap between music audience and the music makers.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, I appreciate that, and it's kind of funny how it's in some ways it's forward moving, but also kind of backwards. Where now that we've been isolated at home so much, we found new ways to build communities and find ways to connect with people. So it just goes back to resilience. Like, we want to be connected to people, and we'll just figure out a way to do it given the constraints.
Yeah, totally. Amazing. So
Should we jump into some
I
demos? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, totally. I think it's super cool. So I guess we're just gonna go through, link by link by order of submission, and yeah, we're both gonna, jam and give some feedback and feel it out. This is super exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and on that note, like Mike said, we're just gonna kind of go through the list. We're not gonna make it to everything. As I said, this is the most submissions I've received, and I just want to be conscious of time. But if you're a supporter on Patreon, I bump you a little bit higher in the queue, so appreciate your support there. But we'll do our best to be as thoughtful about all the feedback we give, but to also try and move through as many demos as we can. Oh, and I just wanted to also give a note. I mentioned this in my Instagram post. I'm really excited to have you, Mike, because you give the best feedback out of anyone else I know. For any music I've released, probably in the last few years, or most of it, has been through Mike. he's my feedback guy. So.
That puts a lot of pressure on me today. And what would you say? Like, because it's obviously I don't receive feedback from myself. My own feedback is very critical when it comes to my own tracks. So I'm curious to hear like what is helpful usually, and what I communicate to you that helps you improve, so I can maybe follow that line today.
Well, there's what's useful for me, which could be what's different for everyone. I mean, I think for me, actually, I'm actually trying to reflect what. I mean, actually, you give very good feedback on the mix. And I know you slave away hours and hours on your own mix sounds. Your mix feedback
Yeah,
is really good.
yeah. I guess it's usually, the part also where like you want to have another pair of ears,
Yeah.
to get out of your own room and your own speakers to have reference on, balances.
Yeah.
But we can dive straight away,
Yeah.
jump in on the first link, and see what we've got here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I see a link from our friend Samaha.
Mm-hmm. And this is my Rajneesh. It's Sufjan Stevens edit. So yeah, Mike, let's just coordinate our listing. I'll do a countdown 3, 2, 1, and we'll hit play at the same time.
Okay, I'll let you know when I'm ready.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2,
3,
1, go.
2.
So far, it's a very nice intro. Yeah, this is very pleasant. The bass is nice. I feel like the elements are balanced nicely. It has my attention. Nice little percussive touches here and there. You do that a lot in your music. This is great so far, I think. Mike, I'm going to pause it here, okay? All right. Yeah, I paused it at 2:57. What are your initial thoughts so far?
It sounds really good. I don't know the original song, so it's really interesting because it encompasses perfectly the story. It feels like it respects the original track. There's like the full vocal. It's not like chops, and mix wise it sounds very, very balanced and super enjoyable. I was looking forward for that little hat to come in, to add that little swing and groove. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so far I think this is super solid. I have no critical feedback. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to check in. I mean, I think everything seems like perfect so far. It sounds really smooth, well mixed, professional. Should we just keep going?
Yeah, totally. Would you mind muting yourself when we listen? Because otherwise I was hearing like two times the
okay,
track.
yeah, sure. Okay.
So
right.
Okay, so we jump to
2:57. I'll do a little countdown.
Uh-huh.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. I mean, this is really nice. Mike, can you hear me without the echo now?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, fix it.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, this is so cool. I'll be very curious to hear the original song to see like what elements we're taking from. I love the synths, the kind of like rattling, puppet-ish,
Yeah.
and the stereo image of the synths is really cool. It's actually really well mixed. I believe like it's.
Are you still playing or are you paused?
I paused. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Where did you pause at?
I'm now in the breakdown at like 450 something.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. Yeah, and I would also be curious to hear what the original is. I mean, if this was originally produced, amazing, and even if not, just a great tune to choose to edit.
Yeah, totally. We're starting off with really good song
Yeah.
actually.
All right, cool.
So
Great.
great.
Let's make it through the break, and let's see how it flourishes. So you're at like 4:15.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, super cool. This is really interesting.
We would like the download link, please. Super special track.
All right, Mike, should we just pause here?
Yeah.
Cool. Just in the interest of time, because I want to get through as many demos, but
Yeah.
I'll just share my thoughts. I mean, I really liked what was happening, in the first half of the track, and then what I heard after the breakdown with those new kind of quirky, like warbly sounds and the new synth sounds you introduced. I mean, this is really, really nice. I mean, Samaha, you should be proud of this. My only critical feedback, and I don't feel strongly about this, is the breakdown was really, really long. But it does so much and it's so beautiful. But I started getting a little kind of like, okay, where are we going? But that being said, the payoff after the breakdown was so good. I don't even feel that strongly about what I'm saying. So that's my like minor feedback, but I think the payoff made it worth it. So overall, I would say this is an A. Like, congrats. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I believe that. Can you still hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
I believe that even though the break is long, the energy level goes up. It's really like a kind of like transit track. You can go from in a set from like a kind of more dreamy organic world into more like synth-ish, dynamic with this track. So it's kind of like a mood shifter. So yeah, I guess this long break also allows you to jam a little bit and maybe introduce other things. There was one point at like 5:38. There's kind of like half kicks coming in, and I feel they're kind of like in between a full kick and in between a top kick. And I think my only like question here would be like, would it be worth it to try having a little bit more heavier kick, so we introduce a little bit of sub on the dance floor in that section, or something a little bit more thin so it's not, you know, in the middle? That was my only feeling. But we'll definitely play this, and I think it sounds finished. It's beautiful.
Cool. And Samaha, I'm gonna check out your SoundCloud page to see some of your original work. Definitely want to hear more from you. Well, great. We're off to a strong start here.
Yeah,
That's
it's cool.
awesome.
This is super cool. Amazing. So congrats. Great edit, and thank you for sending it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So next one, we'll jump to Atrisco.
Okay. El Dorado.
All right.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa.
Late night.
Yeah, nice cavernous sound, yeah.
The art is cool.
You have my attention.
Yeah.
paused at 251.
Perfect.
All right, you
Here we
wanna
go.
go first on this one?
Yeah, sure. So sounds really good. I mean, elements are well balanced. Stereo image is cool. I love the atmospheres and stuff. Um, this is the type of kick drum that is more like proggy. It has like this very snappy top end, and I think it's a kick drum that will pierce really nicely through the mix in clubs and stuff. I believe that kick being quite dominant, the bass hits were very shy. I think the sub hits could be pushed a little bit more in terms of volume, because when the bass hits, I think it could complement more the groove. One thing that I was a little bit wondering is in terms of the keys. There's some keys that are like a little bit syncopated, and we feel the loop that has been played. There's a little bit of swing in it, but I feel that they could flow a little bit more. Either it's like certain notes are a little bit off on purpose because it's been jammed, but some of them could land a little bit more smoothly, like, you know, in a nice kind of repetition, and maybe a little bit more delay on those keys, so they're a little bit more blended in into the mix. And I really enjoyed the kind of dark atmosphere in the beginning. It was like really nighttime cavern, and we went to like really like kind of like sunny and uplifting. And I'm really curious now to see if we're gonna go back to the cave at some point, or if we're gonna stay outside with the birds and the sun. You know, in terms of storytelling. What do you think, Atish?
Yeah, I think my to summarize in a couple sentences, you really had my attention in the beginning. I thought it was almost going in this like afterlife kind of this kind of thing, and then it turned into this beautiful beachy kind of thing. And I feel I'm curious to see where it goes. My thoughts so far is it sounds nice. Nothing sounds wrong to me. It doesn't have that like. There's a few different melodic ideas that come in. I'm still trying to figure out what the track is about and where it's going. But we're 251 in, but let me just reserve judgment until we get I'm trying to figure out what the track is about.
Okay,
all right.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
I love the bass.
Yeah,
The bass patterns are so cool.
Say pause.
Oh, can we pause here? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at
Okay.
or 355, or I can jump to where you are.
So that whole section in terms of, you know, melodic story, I feel that like there's a lot of question asked, but there's no answers. You know, so it feels that there's like the guitar strums like na na, and it feels like there would need to be an element, either another instrument or this another guitar layer answering this one, and same for like some of the keys. It feels like there's a lot of like kind of like chords and question asked, and it could be cool if there's like an answer that we can hang on to, something that is a little bit more like, you know, repeating each other, that we anchor ourselves to. And we have very, very like gentle and delicate sounds so far, but it could be cool to have like one a little bit more meaner, darker kind of guide that comes to complement that sweetness, and have a little bit of the other side, because the track started with that more like mysterious, darker feel. This is where I stand.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm in agreement with you, and I think that inkling that I had earlier is even stronger now, which is there's a lot of melodic ideas which are just kind of being stacked on each other, and none of the ideas are wrong, but especially that dun dun dun, that little organ thing, it's just kind of like stacking on top of it. It makes it feel crowded. And I think, Mike, the word that I talk a lot about in my Patreon sessions and some of my videos is, which I think you were touching on, is call and response. You know,
Yeah.
you should have parts having a conversation with each other rather than them kind of all talking at once. So, yeah, I think we're kind of on the same page. There's just a lot of ideas thrown on at once, and separation, and having them talk to each other. So let's resume. Let's make it through the break, and then catch up. Pause a little bit after the break.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Cool. All right, 355. 3, 2, 1, go. 6:33. So yeah, I'll go first this time. I think so the first thing that stuck out to me, I mean, I guess I say this a lot. I felt like the break was pretty long here. And then there was like, it wasn't a snare roll exactly, but it was like a snare, like tom roll that was happening. It was building up a lot of suspense. Then it was actually a cool idea when it went into that little breakbeat kind of thing, which surprised me. And I love surprises. But I felt that there was a lot of drama and a lot of build up. And for me, the payoff wasn't quite there. It was cool that, like, you know, it was stripped back a little bit. That pad sound came in there that I don't remember, so that was a little bit different. But the one thing that that marimba or xylophone that has that tremolo on it, ding, 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 that was just like getting like drilled into my brain. And yeah, it was a bit too much. I think it was going through like a lot of the breakdown, and then I still had it when we came out of the breakdown. So my ears were just getting tired. Plus the length of the breakdown. I would say, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my feeling about the breakdown. I would probably chop it in half, maybe use a little less dramatics. I really like the breakbeat idea. Maybe save it for another track or chop the breakdown a lot and use that as part of the breakdown. Because I think that was the one thing, that was the one surprise that I really liked the most out of this track. The rest of it kind of felt like a, you know, kind of like a lot of other things, but that was a nice surprise. So that's my 2 cents. Mike?
Yeah, super cool. I mean, I agree with you. I believe that the kind of hook, you know, which is, you know, we were talking about question response, and I believe that this Zillow pattern was a way more complete melodic story. You know, it's doing the full cycle. It's like ba, 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 ba. It's coming back. So I feel that this can be definitely developed as like the core melodic idea of the track. But I believe that the sound stays the same the whole way, and it's it's just like xylophone with delays, very quick delay times on it. And I believe that maybe like a little bit of a longer type of sound could come in and support that, or either like a bass note coming to do that same pattern. So we feel that this kind of story unfolds and builds. And I don't think we need to bring it back straight away at the drop. I think the drop, we could go more tribal, and there's definitely room for some mid-low drums in there. Like, because there's like the kind of like little bounciness and lightness, but there could be like, of course it's personal choice, but it could be like a little bit of bigger kind of frame drums or djembes, or even like toms, 808, 909 toms in the mid-low 200 to 500 hertz type of thing that answers the bass or bounces between the kicks. So we have new percussive elements at the drop that we didn't hear before. So we have a surprise elements, some maybe splashes, shakers, impacts that are like boom, you know, a little bit more like solid. And then that cute little melody can come back later and you know, combine together will complete the story. I agree with you. The breakbeat type of thing was really cool, and I think it can help to keep some rhythm during that break, so it's not too empty. But mix-wise, sounding very good, very balanced. Once again, I think the bass notes could be a little bit pushed, and definitely a little bit more solidity in the ideas of melodic elements will help drive this track towards a more complete story.
Cool. And Atrisco, he commented on Twitch saying he likes your idea a lot. So feedback has been well received.
Amazing. Cool. Thanks for the track.
Yeah, thank you. Let's jump to the next one. This is from Fossey. He's a Patreon supporter, so thank you for your support there. I think you just signed up today. So I
think I know Fossey, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see if it's the Fossey I know. Yes, it is. Hi, brother. Super cool.
All right, let's jump right in. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, 3, 2, 1, go.
yeah. Stereo bar vibes.
Yeah. Is he from Montreal?
Yeah, Farsi lives in Montreal. Last time I spoke with him, I think he was around, yeah.
Nice groove.
Yeah, the deep pads is like deep house.
Exactly. Super deep house. Yeah.
This is epic. Oh, hi. Me too. Dion approved this. He approved this track, that's for sure. Super cool surprise. Beautiful.
Yeah.
No brilho do teu olhar, você faz meu mundo girar. Eu só penso em te beijar.
Ooh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that vocoder is so good.
Desejo louco de sentir teu beijo na minha nuca. Desejo louco de me ver no brilho do teu olhar. Você faz meu mundo girar. Eu só penso em te beijar.
I don't even want to pause it.
No, that's exactly the flow. Great arrangement, great flow.
Yeah.
Desejo louco de sentir teu beijo na minha nuca. Desejo louco de me ver no brilho do teu olhar. Você faz meu mundo girar. Eu só penso em te beijar.
Oh yeah, there it is again.
Yeah, the response is that's the best part.
Desejo louco de sentir teu beijo na minha nuca. Desejo louco de me ver no brilho do teu olhar. Você faz meu mundo girar.
Wow.
I don't want to pause it, but let's pause it.
Yeah.
Just in the interest of time. Mike, I'll let you go first on this one.
I mean, I think it spoke for itself. Yeah, I mean, great bomb. It's so beautiful. I couldn't notice what language it is. It's beautiful vocal. I would love to know. That's the only question I have. I would love to know the story about this voice, and I love everything about it. Like, it really has this dubby feel. You don't expect the vocal at all. Like, I thought it would be an instrumental groover. And then this vocal comes right at the drop. It's got that kind of wow moment on the dance floor. I feel like people would love this surprise. And it's not too much, the vocal, the way it's mixed, it blends in the story, it bounces with everything else. Synths are great, groove is good. These headphones don't have a lot of low end. There's maybe like, around like minute and a half, 2 minutes. I will be curious to see if the bottom of the kick drum is thick enough to push the whole thing. Maybe Atish, with your headphones, you could tell me that more than with these. I will need to try on speakers. Just like sometimes the top kick is very dominant and it makes the track a little bit clicky. Finding that sweet spot to make sure that the groove can be fat at mastering. That's pretty much the only thing I would just verify.
Yeah. I don't have killer bass response on this, but I remember about midway through, the thought crossed my mind saying, is the kick, I wonder if the kick is keeping up with the rest of the track, especially has a big wide kind of cavernous bass sound. But I mean, so I'll just start by saying overall this was awesome. I mean, as evidence, I didn't want to stop the track. It was really great. But yeah, the thought crossed my mind. I'd have to listen to it with my speakers on, but since we're streaming, that doesn't really work well. My only feedback, to find something that's critical is, and I don't even know if it's critical, it's up for you to run with it and try it. There's a lot of reverb. It's like really, really lush. Not necessarily a criticism, but it's taking a lot of space, which is cool because it really sets that you're just kind of encompassed with this wide bass and a lot of reverb. Yeah. That's totally cool stylistic choice. I would just personally be curious to see if you could carve out, because I wonder if this track, I think it would work really well if you hear it on a tight system, in a somewhere. But if you were to play this in like a warehouse or something, I think it would get lost, kind of a lot in the reverb. So just a thought to explore. I mean, I really don't want you to mess with this too much because it's really, really nice. But just something to consider, the amount of reverb there, it could get lost in certain rooms and certain systems. But
it's really good feedback, Atish. I believe it's like it's a unique type of track. Like, I personally, sometimes like drench my tracks in reverb, and sometimes you have surprises. In studio it sounds amazing, in headphones it sounds great, and then you want it to translate to the dance floor, and that stereo image is squashed, or usually it's like at the mastering stage, like once there's a little bit of compression applied, once there's a little bit of like limiting applied, then all those reverbs and that stereo image is going to be like, sometimes either like gone or will create kind of like a curtain on top of the, a mentor that I had for so long and I still respect so much is Adam K, and he told me, like, if you print a track on vinyl, like, you want to hear kick, clap, hat, first thing, so if you turn off the volume completely and you turn on by literally just one level on the meter, you should hear your click of the kick, clap, and hat first, and everything else then after. So sometimes to find that relationship with everything else is a good cue. So maybe if this is not there, pushing the clap and the hats a little bit to make sure that in club it will translate to its best. But I love this track, would love to play it, would love to know what's the story, what's the plan with it. Magical, really.
Yeah, really, really nice. Fosse, I see you have the download link enabled. I'm going to download this, and if you end up working on it some more, send it. Otherwise, I'll play this version in my sets for sure. And we'll see how it sounds in a big room. I'll give you some feedback if I ever play a big room anytime soon. And just, Mike, the language is Portuguese. Some people mentioned in the chat.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah. But congrats, Fosse. Really, really nice. And please, on a personal note, send me some more music or demos. I love this. It's not the right fit for Munjimasi, but I would love to hear more of what you have because you're definitely very good at what you do.
Let's have a chat, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
All right, cool. A lot of good stuff today. We got some good momentum here.
Quarantine has been productive.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's.
Okay, Howell.
Yeah, actually, I hate to do this to you, Howell. I think we listened to a demo of yours last month and the month before. Oops. I just want to give. Oh, I keep hitting play. I just want to give some more people a chance to have their demos reviewed. Sorry, kind of a dick move, but I just want to give more people an opportunity. But next month, we'll put you back in the rotation. Let's jump to Andy Immerman.
Okay, sweet.
Unless you're a Patreon supporter, I'm not sure how. If you are, just let me know in the chat. I didn't see your badge in the Discord. All right.
Caverns.
Yes, Cavernous. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's pause it here.
Yeah.
2:05.
Okay.
I forgot who went first last time. Well, I'll just jump. I think the first thing that jumped out to me is the mix.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat, the hi-hats were a couple people saying they're hearing some glitching. Sorry about that, guys. Let's just hope it resolves itself. But the big thing right off the bat is like the hi-hats felt like super forward in the mix.
Yeah.
I think one of the bass sounds, it had something that was resonating really strongly, kind of stuck out. That bass that had like the slow attack time, that was also kind of sticking out. I think the first thing that I would start, kind of addressing is just kind of taming everything and trying to find a good balance in the spectrum and having them sit against each other. The melodic elements seemed fine to me so far, but I was kind of distracted by the mix that it was hard for me to really get hooked in. Mike?
Yeah, I would have similar feedback. I love the track. I really like it. It reminds me of, Vibrant Jeremy Hollander's label. I would use as a reference Marino Canal.
I love his music.
For that type of track, it's like, not too many elements going on, but each sound takes full spectrum of the track. And I think that synth harp is the first thing that we hear, and that's literally what drives the train right from the beginning of the track. And when the hats are coming in, it feels that suddenly the synth disappears because the hat is a little bit too loud. And I think it would be cool to maybe reduce a little bit the volume of the hat just where it needs to be. So I think you can remove 3 dBs and it won't even, show, but it will create space. And when the clap came in, I think that this clap has too much decay and is kind of like loose. It's kind of like a human hand clap. But I think for this track, we're looking for something snappy, more like drum machine-ish, or maybe a layer of both. But I would definitely close the envelope and the decay of this clap. And the reverb of the clap was very big roomy. So it was making the clap kind of like sit far in the track. I would probably like to close the size of that reverb to have the clap sitting closer to the mix. Before doing any of that, I will make sure that the kick takes its full space and volume and then rebalance everything around that. And let's not lose that ARP guy too much. It's cool that it's going away and coming back, but even if we don't pay attention to it anymore, it feels like it's the element that is driving the track in terms of sound and rhythm. So I would like to have him maybe a little bit closer when the hats are coming in. But a great track. I like the melodic story and the sound design, the kind of glide that was happening on one of the ARPs. It was going off a little bit and coming back. I really like that feeling.
The other thing I liked about the ARP is, it's not every note was played at the same velocity. It had like dynamics in the ARP, so it just felt like it was alive and moving. And that's one thing that's kind of easy to overlook, especially if you're new to ARPs, where everything is just da 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 da, as opposed to like da da do da da do da da do, kind of thing. So
totally
nice ARP. It has life and bounce to it. So let's keep going. 207.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Oops, I accidentally paused it. I'm at 304. So, overall, I have nothing really to add from before. I think my overall high-level thought, let's assume you did fix down the mix down. I think the track seems fine overall. Now this is like ambiguous feedback, but the track doesn't have. I like the ARP. It had that dynamics. All the elements play well together. The track doesn't have something that really stands out that would make me kind of remember it the next day or even a few tracks later. I think it could serve as a functional track, if you're trying to keep an energy or a vibe going. But maybe there's some room, to push it to the next level, to really spend some time on a texture or tweaking a melody or something to push it to the next level, to have it stand apart from the rest. It's much easier for me to say that than to do it. If we all knew how to do it, we'd all be whatever. But, I think assuming you fix the mix, and the clap issues and this kind of thing, I think the track is fine, but keep in the back or front of your mind, what can you do to make this sound different or stand out in some way than the rest of everything else. And not everything has to be crazy different. It can just be like one thing that's a little bit
Yeah.
unique, and that's all you need, to make it, a little bit memorable.
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying. And at 342, there was like a new synth that was like a little bit trancy, and I really love the emotion of that sound. When it came in, it hit me, and I was feeling like, wow, like I think this new sound can help like tell the whole story. When it comes at 342, it's kind of like it was kind of like coming in as a new layer on top of everything else, and it feels like it was completing a little bit more the sonic spectrum. I don't think it will be to add anything necessarily, but like Atish is saying, like I think I would just focus on the mix. um, and I believe that mixing is very personal thing too. It's not only sound design and melodies and stuff. I believe that the more we spend time mixing and choosing, like where we make the clap sit and what style of reverb we're using and all that stuff, this is what down the line becomes also part of our personality as producers. I remember reading an interview from Tim Green a few years ago. Obviously Tim Green is, I think, still a leading producer in our world, and he said in an interview, he said, oh, like I really recommend like kind of like everyone getting someone else to mix your music, because that takes a lot of time and all that stuff, but to be honest, I do all the mix myself. And it shows, and it's music, and a lot of producers, you can tell part of the personality is you know where do you put your percussions, what sort of panning you're putting on your hats and all that stuff. And I think this track, with just a little bit more mix, without overthinking the melodic aspect or the storytelling aspect, could literally level up by a lot if the kick drum has a little bit more decay, is a little bit more like heavy and fills up the low end, and snappier sounds where they need to be, and it would create more space for maybe the synths. And maybe the synths, like Atish is saying, could be also like pushed a little bit more, some crazier effects on those layers. Bouncing everything in audio and doing a new session of mix can be a nice process. Also, if you have some MIDI stuff, freeze that stuff, put it in audio and rework it. It will sometimes give a new life, a new type of processing you can do on them. But yeah, I would love to hear an update of this track if there's one at some point.
One common theme between Mike and I on the feedback here is we both gave advice that's easier said than done. I said try to have something unique, and Mike, also said, just fix the mix. So maybe something more concrete to help, because to get really good at a mix takes years and years. I mean, it's hard to get really good at making a mix. So maybe to be a little more constructive, if you are friends with another really good producer, or if you know a mix down engineer, maybe just see if you can get some of their time or pay them just to sit in a room with them and ask them how they would mix the track. And you can kind of learn what they're doing along the way, and you can also throw in some creative choices on the way you want to do it, because it's very hard to go from beginner to fluent in doing a good mix in a short amount of time. And my personal philosophy, I am not a mix down expert by any means, and I don't claim to be. So I'm good enough at mixing to be able to let my creative ideas kind of get through, and then I send it off to an engineer to do all the really, really hard fine-tuning stuff. So we all have different lines for how much we want to spend, but one day I would love to be at Mike's level, where I could really let my personality shine through in my mix. But it's all about also how much time you're able to spend on each thing.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm still struggling with my mixes. Like, obviously when I release a track, it's because I'm really happy with it, but the behind the scenes is sometimes like absolutely insane amount of hours and back and forth and versions and all that stuff. And I don't wish anyone to go through this process, because it is really time consuming sometimes. And it's just that for me, it's also very personal, the mix and the balance of elements. But depends the style of music, depends where you want to go. And coming back to more constructive and applicable is to find good references in terms of like, wow, I love how this producer sounds, because when I play his track in my DJ sets in my local club, it sounds amazing every time I drop this specific track. Take this track, put it in Ableton and analyze it, like reference like A, B, what's the balance? If your track is like very, very high at heavy, small kick, maybe you want to do this. compared to your reference track, and this will give you a better perspective on your own speakers and on your own headphones. So you will learn your room at the same time, and by gaining confidence on your speakers in your room, you will improve your relationship with your mixes, because I think it's all about what you hear versus what we hear. Sometimes it's literally because we're just in separate rooms. So I have been having these headphones for 7 years now, and I don't want to change them because it takes years to get used to our speakers and headphones, and it's like the car test. So yeah.
Cool. On that note, one thing you can do, and maybe you're doing this already, but Andy, in your Ableton or Logic project or wherever, actually put the reference track in your project as one of the tracks, and then you can mute that and turn it off, and just literally, as you're going through your project, do a side-by-side comparison. There are some, visualization tools where you can actually have both spectrums of your track and your reference track at the same time, and you can look at what the differences are. So, you just see how you can integrate that in your workflow, and that can be a good place to at least get a jump forward. Cool.
Totally.
All right, let's jump to Saqib.
Yeah.
And I'm just updating in Twitch and Discord what the current track is. All right. Saqib is a good buddy of mine, fellow New York DJ and producer. And let's jump into this one. You ready to go, Mike?
Yeah. Love Life feat. CERN.
All right. Oops, I forgot to say 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh. That's so cool.
Something out at sea. Me and you can go through the ocean together. Whatever the weather, whatever the world brings to our door. I'll only love you more and more. Hey, hey. I wonder where I lost my underwear, running around without care. Yeah, should've sung your share, Care Bear. Oh yeah, honey dog, what's it gonna be? Running around, swirl, looking at all these zombies and the Abercrombie. How we gonna just like, yo, finally find some time together, chill in the sunshine, moon, the weather. Oh shit, look at all the rainbows, glows, moon bows glow too. Girl, things I wanna go through. Ride on a horse with you, chillin' like this. Yo, walk through the church, whatever God do. Chillin' like this, infinite love like this, yo.
Woo!
The bass is so good.
Yeah.
The beauty and my pain.
Woo!
sky with our lovers lie. In the summertime, when flowers bloom, I want to be next to you. Together forever, as much as possible. When you're the weather, love, my heart is full. I wanna be in your cloud, I wanna be in your light, I wanna shine in your night, I wanna live with your love.
I'll let you go first on this one.
Cool. I have the honor. Wow, really, really cool track. Super amazing vocal. I bet it's like an original vocal, looking at the title, and really, really nice voice, nice processing on the voice. It has this kind of like old school housey feeling, funky right from the start with the kind of like guitar riff. Very minimal. There's not a lot of stuff going on, but everything that is there is doing its role, and its thing. Groove is there. So I think that this track is like, you know, almost done in terms of like story, arrangement, all that stuff. I believe there's room for a couple of layers, and I can maybe like list down the things I would add to complement the story. I feel that there could be at some point a little bit of a thicker, more dominant hat, somewhere where it's either like a little bit of a white noise hit or a little bit more like a open hat, to tighten up a little bit more that housey feeling. That's personal taste. There could be a little bit of drum fills and drum snares between the sections, or, you know, I don't know, Serge Devant tracks are really good with that kind of like double kicks, tack, 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 snare type of feeling between certain sections. I think there's room for a little bit of those kind of percussion delayed, or could be dry snares, claps type of thing. And at 4:21, we're in the middle of the main break. There's only the vocal and a clap. And personally, in a DJ set, I would love if underneath there's a tiny little top kick to giving me the 1, 2, 3, 4, just to keep the dance floor a little bit and allowing to cue something on it if we want, or having a little bit more than just an empty clap and the vocal. For me, in that space, arrangement wise and length is good, but it's a little bit empty, where it could be cool to have also maybe some textures and doors slamming, or car traffic, or recordings from your street, or just adding a little bit of substance around that complete the textures. And then at the drop, and in certain sections where we switch transitions, could be nice to have maybe a little bit more impact sounds and crash sounds, and just because it feels like we're entering the sections always kind of dry, and adding a little bit could be nice. But that's me being very critical, because I love the track, and I think I would play something like this.
Cool. Yeah, I think a lot of what you said is exactly what I was gonna say. Whenever the vocal is in there, I'm like hooked. There were a couple points where I thought maybe there could be a little time kind of aligning or quantizing it, where it feels like it's a little bit off the beat here and there. But at the same time, it gives it a very human feel, which is cool. Sometimes when stuff is too quantized and too perfect, it loses some of that spirit. But that, I remember I kind of corked up a little bit a couple times, wondering if it was exactly on rhythm. And the first section of the track, I loved it. You know, the palm muted guitar thing, it like had me hooked. And then kind of as the track went on, whenever the vocals would drop out and it would get to the guitar part, or just the guitar part, I would be grooving. But now I'm just going to repeat what Mike said. I wish there were some more layers to kind of keep it moving and to kind of keep my attention a little bit. 90% of the time, advising my mentees to remove elements, but in this case, it's one of the few times where I think there's room for a little bit more. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time repeating what Mike said, but overall, I really enjoyed it. This is definitely in line with something I would play. Yeah, really happy to hear this.
And I believe it's like a very unique vocal that like will
Yeah.
definitely need a couple of remixes on the release.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like couple of different versions of that very unique vocal. And I agree with you, Atish. I think like the mix sounded great, right? Like I think
Yeah.
the balance of elements
Yep.
is perfect. It's just to add maybe a couple of textures, and because it's very clean, and there could be a little bit more dirt. So maybe recording, you know, some of your own sounds to support. But I agree with you 100% on the emptiness when there's no vocal.
Totally. Cool. Great one, Sakib. I know you're working in the hospital right now, but hopefully you can watch the stream later on. He's working in
Thank you.
infectious diseases right now.
Wow.
Saving COVID lives.
Trooper, thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. The heroes of this era. Let's jump to Hools. Hey, Gotspo, sorry I'm skipping you because I think we got to your tracks, the last two ones, and he's also one of my mentees, so we can jump into the real details on this track in one of our sessions. But we're already at like an hour, 20 minutes, and I just want to give as many people a chance as possible. So let's jump to Hools. Oh, Hools.
Amazing.
This is Hools from Dubai. It must be. He's one of the residents, or was at least when we last hung out, of Deep Like.
Yeah,
Dubai.
I know Hools too. I met him in Dubai. Also, incredible producer. I haven't heard his music in the last year, but played a lot of his tracks 2-3 years ago. And as I remember, incredible swing and grooves and housey, analogish feeling. I'm very excited. And 2 tracks. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll only go through one. But yeah, I am excited to hear. I have a few of his tracks that I already play. But what, Mike, should we do? Which track title excites you more? Different Ways or Penrose?
I'll go with Penrose.
All right, let's do Penrose. I'm just gonna share this link in the
Because it has only 2 plays instead of 4, so
Oh,
I the B side.
All right, cool. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. There's that groove. There it is. pause it now. I don't want to pause it, but I mean, it's like a classic Hools track. I mean, I think it's one of his better tracks actually. And his tracks are already good. Just grooves. It has that quirky kind of thing. I just know it would work on a dance floor, like no question. Like this is like a party tune while being deep and not over the top. I mean, I don't have a lot to add. I mean, I'm in it.
I would take this track, put it in my Beatport card, check it out, put it in the USB, play it. Really, like it's done. You know, it's like a very complete, very professional and mature sound design. I recognize Ul's personality in this, and I see on the side SoundCloud is recommending me Unknown, which was the EP that I was really in love with from 2018. I would be very curious also to after the stream listen to the other tracks in ways, but very beautiful, very cool, and definitely Atish, you're right, like super cool, like party music, like dance floor, like surprises, that kind of trippy synth in a good sound system would be very fun. And
oops, I accidentally hit play. Sorry.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, I love it so much, and happy to hear from Hools again.
Yeah. I think we're down to. Oh, Mike, how are you doing on time? We're at about an hour and a half. Are you good to go for another 30 minutes, or do you know?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Totally. I will just put more luminosity on the lens.
Cool. Or maybe the your backlit with the lights back there. But while Mike's setting that up, thanks everyone for tuning in. I mean, today's demos are really nice. We're pretty overbooked on the number of demos we have for this month, but next month, if you want to jump yourself higher into the queue, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/atishmusic. And I know it's not easy to, first of all, sending your music to someone for feedback is already a hard process as it is, because you're really putting yourself out there. And then to send your music out to feedback to two people who are professionals or in the industry, while live streamed in front of everyone, is not an easy thing to do. I mean, that takes, a lot of guts. So, positive feedback, critical feedback, whatever. I mean, even if we don't get to your demo, just hats off to you for at least having the courage to submit your demo. That's a big step, because it's really hard to openly be ready for people's feedback, especially in a public forum. So round of applause for everyone who has the guts to do that.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for sending really stellar music so far, like really great level of production, and we're touching at different styles too, but all stuff I think in the realm that you and I could play in a gig, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. This is super fun. I appreciate you doing this.
It's so cool.
While we're at the the period with, let's say, 30 minutes left, let's give ourselves a little ear break. What do you have coming up in the next few months? Are you taking a break from the road? Do you have gigs coming up? Any releases?
So it's really exciting period, because I have a few gigs at home. I just this weekend played with one of my best friends, Wachuma. We played at Picnic Electronic
nice.
in Montreal. It was it's just so fun to play at home, see so many friends, and that was really cool. And next week I'm doing a road trip with a few friends from a beautiful crew called Pas de Roche, and they're doing a few locations in Quebec this summer, which is to encourage people to discover nature, go in some national parks we have in Quebec, and do it, leave no trace, camping in a nice way. And we're gonna play at Rocher-Percé, which is 10 hours drive east from Montreal. It's where the St. Lawrence River gets really wider, and there's a water, and there's a really old rock formation there, and they found a platform that is basically overlooking this whole space. And I think there's going to be around 100 people. We're going to do a little set there, and
nice.
Very excited for this. it would be, I never discovered this part of Quebec, so I would be a tourist at the same time.
Awesome.
So I'm very excited about this. And music wise, so the album took a lot of my focus in the past months, and then as soon as I rediscovered the dance floor, I went back into more groovy dance floor music. So this fall there will be an EP of 3 songs called Tantale, Tango, and Golconda. They will be released on Saison, and it's 3 songs that I composed in the past 3 years. Pieces here and there, recordings of different friends, different instruments, and I'm very excited about those tracks. I will play them probably in the stream next week, test them out. So that's what's coming. Very excited about this. And we have also beautiful release from Turkish artists, Depar, a duo consisted of Omeria and Batu Boris. Very, very talented guys that they met, and it's a match made in heaven. We have an EP of 2 tracks. There's songwriting, lyrics, one of our first vocal tracks on the label, I think. And that will be out September 3 on Saison. So we're very excited about this too. We shipped it last night actually, so
Awesome.
It's coming together. How about you? What's coming up on your side?
I just had a gig Saturday in New York. It was a Zero Boat party, which was fun, and then I have nothing scheduled until October. With the baby at home and babies can't get vaccines and all that, I've been really picky about gigs. I'm actually not going to say what my gigs are in October because there's a chance I might back out. With the numbers going up. But let's keep it positive vibes here. I'm excited to focusing on learning Bitwig and making more music in the studio at home and just spending time with my son. That's kind of what my outlook is for the few months, and hoping the numbers
amazing.
can go down so I can get back on the road again.
Yeah, totally. And in 60 seconds, how has been your transition to Bitwig?
It's been really, really nice. I feel like it has modulars. The modularity is built into everything. It's very, very customizable. It has this thing called the grid, which is a much easier to use version than like Max MSP. So I'm actually building a lot of my own synthesizers for some of the stuff I'm playing around with. It just feels, hardcore Bitwig users say it's like light years ahead of Ableton. It doesn't feel light years ahead, but it feels 2 or 3 years ahead of Ableton, and it feels like it doesn't have a lot of the baggage of Ableton. Because Ableton is so old and has so many users, they can't really back away from some holes that they've dug themselves in.
Yeah.
But Bitwig just really feels very fresh and forward-thinking, and you can customize all your shortcut keys. So I basically mapped all my Ableton shortcut keys in Bitwig, so I can just kind of flow really quickly right out the box.
Wow.
So I would recommend it. I would recommend it. It gives you a lot more power and a lot more modularity, so it's cool.
So the learning curve has been pretty good.
It's been good. I just started. I spent about a week on my first track in it, and I'm still learning. I would say after about 2 to 3 weeks of playing around with it, I can flow. Definitely
Nice.
like day one. You know what I mean. When you can just like when you have an idea, you can do it. It took me about 2 or 3 weeks to get to that point, and I can only get in the studio, a few hours a week. With baby duties and all that. But yeah, it was much. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, especially because of the shortcut key mappings. So yeah, I recommend trying it out. Richie Houghton just posted on Facebook that he made the switch to Bitwig, so I kind of felt like validated. Like cool, a lot more people are going to make the jump and they'll support it even more.
This is so cool. I'm excited to hear what's gonna come out of it.
Yep. All right, let's be smart with our time here. Let's jump on to the next one. This is from let's see. This is a remix by Boy with Kuch, joined with the Cult remix. Oh, this is from Jesse K. He's a promoter in Brisbane. Actually, I've played for him in Australia. And,
awesome.
He runs a great label, Open Records, which released one of my favorite tracks of all time by Doppel called Melt. But
Reza remixed this
yeah,
track, right?
he had a great remix of that one too.
I played the Reza remix.
yeah. That's
It's great label, amazing music.
Yep. So
That's
this is
super
a remix from Jesse, who runs the label. So you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, 3. Oops, I actually started too early. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh.
Exhale.
Hey, Mike, I'm gonna pause it here. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Cool. You want to go first, or should I jump in?
I think it's your turn.
Okay. So yeah, the highlights for me. I like the bass a lot. I liked what was happening in the bass. Let's say in the first chunk of what we were listening to, and then when the big bass comes in, I thought that was really, really nice too. I think that's probably the standout shining thing for me, was happening in the bass. I like that little kind of like vocal, kind of vocoded thing. That's a nice, unique touch. I feel like the interestingness and the energy of what's happening in the bass isn't matched by what I'm hearing in the percussion and the highs. I feel like I would like a little more energy to compensate, to kind of balance out the overall energy. And the other thing that I would say is, I can't remember what it sounded like now, but there's a pad loop that kind of happens over and over and over again. And I said this before, it kind of gets drilled in my brain. I would love some more movement on it, or changing, or evolution, or drop it out once in a while, change the octave here and there. I'm just kind of getting stuck in the loop a little bit, but the standout to me is the bass for sure.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add than what you commented. I believe it's definitely like on the proggy side of things, in terms of elements and very patient build type of track. So I imagine this more in like after hours setting or bigger room type of setup. It's not a track I think that could be played in any type of room or sound system. My impression was that like around 42 seconds, the clap was a little bit shy, because the low end and the relationship with the kick and the bass is amazing. The low end is really good. The clap, I think maybe even the mastering engineer could add a little bit of saturation around the clap area to make sure it sits really tightly and sounds nice. I love the sound design. I love the groove. I think I'm curious to hear how the rest is unfolding.
Cool. Let's resume. I'm at 2:55. Let's go through the break and a couple bars after the break, and then kind of move to the next one, just in the interest of time. I want to help as many people as we can.
Yeah,
so let's
do it.
Cool.
Perfect.
3, 2, 1, go. A shaker would be nice, kind of sitting on top. All right, I'm gonna pause it here, Mike. The first thing that jumps out right now is the break. When you come out of the break, it's cool that you kind of. Well, one thing I liked is that when the bass line came in just at the end of the break, it hung on that one note. I like that a lot because my ear was expecting to do the same kind of rolling bass line pattern, and it didn't do that, which I liked. But when the beat came back in, that sound that I said that I liked, that that it's my third time saying it got drilled in my brain a lot. And I think if you're going for the stripped down approach when coming out of the break, definitely drop that sound and maybe see if there's maybe one or two other things you can drop, because it felt like coming out of the break, it didn't make a strong choice of did it want to be stripped down or did it want to be like full energy, and it was kind of like waffling between both worlds. So I would say lean towards committing to do something more stripped down and see how many elements you can remove when you come out of the break, and that will make it more impactful. That's kind of what's top of mind for me, Mike.
Yeah, totally. I definitely agree. I recognize where this sound is from. It's in a library that I use sometimes called Exhale, and I believe like in those patches there's like 8 different keys we can play, and there's like variations of this tickatoo, there maybe like pitching it down or processing it, reversing it, trying it in different ways. Because I feel it's the kind of sound that like first time you hear it, it's cool, but it's also the kind of sound that gets old very, very fast. So I think use it, in the most minimal way or personalize it a little bit more would be key here. Because at the drop is definitely like the one sound that I was paying attention to, and it kind of turned me off from the rest of what was going on. So I relate with you of like maybe stripping it down if we want to go more bassy or percussive, focus on that, and maybe resume with this sound later towards the end.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Jesse. Hope to see you out in Australia or maybe stateside or somewhere in the world soon. Let's jump into the next one. This is Leo Casciaro.
Amazing. Hi, Leo.
You know Leo?
Yeah, we chat on Instagram actually.
Oh, cool.
He messaged me yesterday to say, hey, I sent a demo.
Awesome.
Awesome. So our days, I'm ready when you are.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. really, really nice.
Beautiful track.
Rising, mail on bed. Almost talking to the making all the ad.
Ooh.
Making all believe. So killer, no less. Better on the sea. Feeling down the press of another man. How so the love is not your hand. Feeling that you have and you carry on. Know your mind is control. Feeling on the breeze, it's not your plan. Very unsolvable, you don't care. Oh no, you're living on the sea in Valerio. Living in the Cavalerio.
I mean, great tune so far. I'm just gonna let it keep playing, Mike. Ooh,
That synth is incredible.
yeah. Oh man. All right, Mike, I'm gonna pause it. I feel like I'm doing it a disservice by not making it to the end. But I don't. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, really beautiful track, super well produced. Mix is literally perfect. I think it would sound amazing in any scenarios. The first part before the vocal got me completely like so into it, and it's just a personal taste. I'm not like so much like a full-on vocal track person. That's just always been like that since I'm in electronic music. And I believe there's parts of the vocal I really really love, and for me to be able to play this track, I would love to have maybe a dub version where there's like maybe just in the 5 minute break this kind of vocal, and maybe in the first break a little bit, but when the drop hits, I would love to have like a more stripped back version in terms of vocal. I believe there's places where harmonically the vocal sits really well, and there's places where I feel the vocal is a little bit like, sitting on the track, but it is just personal taste, because I love the track so much that I believe like sometimes there's places where I'll prefer not having the vocal because the instrumental is so good. So if there's one day a dub version of this track, I would love to have it and play it. Um, I would be curious to hear if this vocal is actually mixed in the same reverb room as the rest of the track, because I think this is maybe also the separation I'm feeling, is that it feels either a little bit over the track, either in loudness or something like that, or it feels like just disconnected because I don't think it's sent in the same room as the other elements. So sometimes, if you have pads that are in a certain reverb bus, sending also the vocal a little bit in that bus helps put them in the same room, same space. And I think that could be a nice way to try to merge it more to the track than having the vocal sitting kind of on top of it. That's just something I would love to try. But that's just to be critical because that's what we do here today. But honestly, it's a really top track. When the vocal drops at the 5.5 minute mark, it's like completing the whole story. Songwriting skills 10 on 10. Great mix, great groove. Clap is super nice. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much more to add. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of vocals in there. I would also like a dub version, but for what this is trying to do, it's perfect. I have no feedback. I think it's great. Hats off. I mean, it was really, really great track.
Well produced, super nice.
All right, cool. Let's try one or two last ones. This one's from Different Ray. Man, there's been a lot of really good music today.
Yeah, honestly, this is super good.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
I think I play music from Different Ray. I have this on my USB for sure.
Ah, cool. Yeah, and Different Ray sends a bunch of demos to Manjumasi. We're just waiting for the right tunes for the perfect fit. All right, let's just do ID 1.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Cool. All right, you want to pause here, Mike?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll go first on this one. I think you went first last time. I mean, overall, I think it's super solid. I think this would be like a perfect type of tune if I was playing like an opening set, maybe for like John Digweed or something like that. Really solid. I mean, everything feels right. Nothing to me felt wrong. I mean, my only criticism is kind of what I said before, which is it's much easier said than done. Really nice groove, elements are nice, balance, everything is perfect. It doesn't have that thing that would make it like memorable to me. You know, if I walked away from a dance floor, or I wouldn't go out of my way to put this track on to listen to it. But as far as a functional track, if you want a track that fits that vibe, that's maybe the glue between two other tracks in a set, if people are coming into a club, perfect track. I think you did everything right. I think it's fine as is, but and I'm saying this because I know you've sent demos to Manjumasi before. You know, the big thing is if you wanted to take it to the next level, what's the thing how can you make it stand apart from the rest of the pack? And it doesn't have that, but for what it is, it checks all the boxes. Great track.
Great feedback. I believe I stand in a very similar place where, you know, everything's there, like arrangement, all that stuff, sound design. I like the use of envelopes, you know, like the cutoff, opening up, closing back, the size of the envelopes, the LFOs. Like there's a lot of like modulation, creating that tension, coming back in. For me, it felt like a little bit long. Like every single section, I was like maybe an 8 or 16, a little bit, simply because maybe there's not that one sound that kind of like carries me away. I believe it's all kind of like great sound design, but there could be one special layer, special sound that appears once in a while before the main drop, because the main drop was really, really cool. That was my favorite part of the track.
Yeah.
And then just shortly after, all the drums are snapping together, and then you have the full groove locked in, and that's fully tight and very, very beautiful. So either having a little bit of that snappy groove earlier in the track to make me dance before that, or melodically, it's very, very steady. Every single sound is playing kind of like the root note, having maybe a little bit more, you know, chords going up and down to create a little bit more melodic tension. That would be my only feedback for me to be able to play this track. But execution is there. It sounds great. Super cool track. Thank you.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks for submitting. So we're just past.
I have a favor.
Yes.
I have a friend, Orla, that I actually didn't get the chance to listen to his music yet, and I'm so happy to see his name there.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's jump to Orla.
Unless we do two, but if it's the last one, I would love if we can do Orla.
Let's do it.
It's super cool.
All right. Let me know when you have it ready to go.
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. The track is called Whitney's Crack. Crack is whack.
It was rough. It was rough. I think I kind of reverted back as I got older. And so when I'm just a party, you know, it was kind kind of a rebel in me, you know. First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight, okay? We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack.
Is it alcohol? Is it marijuana? Is it cocaine? Is it pills?
It has been at times,
All?
at times.
If you had to name the devil for you, the biggest devil among you,
That would be me.
Atish, where you at?
Sorry, I just paused it.
Okay, perfect. Me too.
Okay.
Um,
Should I go?
is it my turn? Is it-
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So, Orla, thank you for sending this track, bro. I would say, I love like the housey feeling to it, and it has like, nice, dubby, old school deep house synths and all that stuff. I think there's a lot going on in certain places, where there's like a lot of kind of like bouncy RP synths. The kind of high pitch synth sounds a little bit generic to me, and it's a sound that like I would like to remove and see if there could be a replacement sound or replacement pattern for this one. I think that the bassline pattern is very groovy, and this is like one of the successful parts of this track. At 205, there was like the break and then the drop, and then suddenly there's some drums that disappeared, and it went kind of back down. If you want to create that type of effect, I would say either remove like 2 or 4 kicks before that, so we can kind of like create like a little bridge before going into this dubby part. And I think it's very early in the track to go do that kind of thing, because you just build the tension and 30 seconds later we're already back down in energy. So I think it would be cool to keep building a bit more before going back to dubby. And if we go strip down dubby, we're moving even more, because we were like kind of halfway, we're moving even maybe more hats and more claps to go like just kick groove and then into the break. At 323 there was nice deep house synths that started appearing, and I really like those. I would focus more around these and the groove, then some of those like high pitch bleeps that personally didn't feel to me that they were sticking to the story and they were not bringing much. So I would focus more on like groove, drums, tightening up that combo before adding more.
Cool. I think, well, I'll start. I definitely, I agree. I think with everything you said, I think the moving bass line and that melody on top, they didn't perfectly sit well for me. I think the highlight, I'll start with, I think the highlight was the first section, just the groove was really, really nice. I liked it, had the housey feel. Kind kind of a new thing that we haven't talked about in our feedback. I think the choice of the sample. I saw the title of the track was Whitney's Crack, and then I said, crack is whack, and I kind of started with kind of like a funny vibe, wondering if you're going to use the sample, and you did use the sample from the interview, and then like maybe because I'm getting a little tired, but then like my mood changed when I listened, and I actually started feeling sad. Because I haven't seen the interview in like 10 years that you sampled from, but I remember that interview was kind of one of the most embarrassing or low points of Whitney Houston's career, when she was, strung out and all this kind of stuff was happening. So sorry, I don't want to come across as soup, but like, I think one thing to think about is, what are you trying to communicate with your audience with the choice of sample that you're using? Is it, something that just, has a cool texture sound that has no meaning? Or is it like making fun of a legendary singer at her expense? I don't know. I won't go too far on that one, but sometimes, a sample just fits. But, there are words and they have meaning. So I think it's one thing to think about, what are you trying to communicate with the use of that sample? And if it is that, if it's kind of like having a joke on Whitney, then, I think it does that successfully. But for me, it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth.
That's actually a very good point. I was not aware of this interview. I could catch the words, obviously, and I believe that you're passing along such an important message. It's like, what's the message you want to pass on your dance floor or on your audience, and every word, every sample, and also the origin of those samples, like
where it comes from.
Yeah, like obviously, like even like on a legal perspective, this couldn't be released. Obviously, this is probably copyrighted and all that stuff, so it becomes kind of like a tool and an exit. And I believe that part of interview and all that stuff is kind of like not a very joyful phase of her life, and not something we want to necessarily dance to. Maybe it could be like processed in a kind of mysterious way and use it in a more like subtle kind of feeling, if you like the texture and feeling of it. Then if you go more for the message, then this is also artistic decision. But always searching where the samples are from is very important, and I think we all do that in our earlier process of music making. We just sample stuff, we just cut stuff. Sometimes your friend will pass you a USB with a bunch of like YouTube rips or whatever, that stuff, and the more you go in your career, the more you will start working with labels, the more you realize like, oh, okay, there's like copyright, licensing, all that stuff. And on that level, it's good to take a habit right from the start to make sure that what you're using, you're allowed to use it and it's done respectfully. And if you take like a sound from even a street musician, you should, ask permission if necessary, and either credit the name of that person in that story. And I think this is things that I'm still learning on the way, but it's something that I value more and more in terms of like every single sound in using our tracks. It has to be done with respect to other persons who contributed to that final piece. So maybe to keep that in mind.
Yeah. All right. We can wind it down here, or I have one more track from a friend of mine that we can squeeze in. Not sure how you're doing on time.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
right.
one last track, and we're ready to go.
Appreciate having you, Mike, and spending the time. Just love hanging out with you always.
Yeah, it's super cool to be able to do this, and we didn't hang out in a really long time, so it's a nice way to catch up publicly.
Definitely. So let's do this one from Abyss. This is called "You Got Me," and then this will officially be the last one, and then we'll call it a night. And sorry to everyone whose demos we didn't get to. Hopefully we'll get to them next month. And if you want to jump yourself to the front of the queue, you can subscribe at any tier on Patreon at patreon.com/atishmusic. And let's close it out with this one's from Abyss.
You Got Me.
Yeah. Ready? 3,
yeah.
2, 1, go. Pause.
More side chain. More side chain. I believe when this big bass started playing, the kick disappeared. Prior to that, everything sounds super tight, and I think the picture, which is really underwatery, really connects with the title, which connects with the feeling of the track. But just while we're there, I believe side chaining that big sub, not only in the sub part, but like also making sure the top kick passes through, because we kind of completely lose the punch of the kick.
Cool. All right, I'm on board for that. 217.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Boy, you got me stuck. Boy, you got me stuck. Boy, you got me stuck. You got me. Boy, you got me stuck. You got me.
All right, should we stop it here? Or you want to keep going? All right.
We can stop it, yeah.
All right. I'll let you round this one off with your feedback.
All right. Really cool. I love the sound design, that kind of like submarine, like kind of filtered, subtle. Like it really has a feel, has a uniqueness. Somehow I hear some atish feel to it. Like I would see you play that sort of like atmospheric dubby type of thing in certain contexts. I think that the mix needs work. I think that the bass is taking so much energy, that sub bass, and low frequencies are taking so much energy in general. But as soon as you have a big sub rumble going on, like it's gonna eat up everything else you have going on in the high end if it's not properly mixed. So I would start with volume. I would literally like drop it to the lowest possible and bring back the fader all the way until you feel it's enough. This way, you probably remove a couple of dBs and put some energy back. Then sidechain will be nice. My highlight was probably when it goes silent. I think it's very very courageous to do that, and usually those moments on the dance floor are really special. Like there's not a lot of tracks that go to literally silence. Then it comes back with the vocal. Vocal is maybe a little bit too wet, or there could be something a little bit improved on that. But I like the track. I really think it's a cool story, and it will be to work a little bit more on the mix, but it has this simplicity, but the sound design is interesting, and yeah, I definitely like where it's going.
Mike, I have a confession.
Yes.
This is it's a demo of mine. This is the first track that I tried making in Bitwig. And it's funny because you're like, this has a very like atish vibe
I
to it.
recognized you. Yeah,
Wow, man, you have
Cool.
a really good ear.
Well, it means that it means that you're having a signature sound that is building, which is a really good sign. This is so cool. I was like, no, but this is a really good sign. It means that you really have your signature sound coming through you now. Which is really this is so epic. A friend of mine, your alter ego.
Yeah.
Abyss. Did you create a SoundCloud profile for this?
I had this test account because I was testing something to repost, so I'm just like, let me just put it on there.
Oh, this is epic! Absolutely, highlight of the day. Wow, no way.
You know what's funny is because the sidechain, I haven't figured out how to do that in Bitwig, or no, and they have this dynamics tool which is like kind of complicated, and I just haven't gotten around to figuring out how to properly do a kick sidechain. So like your feedback is like dead on. I don't know how to do that yet. So it's like.
Oh, so tell your friend Abyss that he should keep working on this track. It's really cool.
Yeah. But I actually agree with your feedback on it. Yeah, and all of it. I mean, I'll actually share my own feedback on it.
Yeah.
I feel like, and it could be because I think maybe I'm at like the 80% point here. Like I think there's a lot of finishing touches I can do. I find myself getting very bored until the break comes. It has, and it could be because I've heard it so many times. But there's like melodic ideas coming in and out, but the groove doesn't change that much. I find that it's like dragging. And I want to do more of those chorus style, like one shot, kind of like little hits, which like I do a little bit of them there to break it up, but I feel like it needs more. But I also might be getting to the trap of wanting to throw more in when actually maybe more isn't necessary.
Like, you know those kind of fills, usually I do them at the end, exactly where you're at, like
80% point.
Yeah, like once the whole kind of like, sketch is there, then I will either use like, the hand sonic that I also used to play live sometimes, but you can just map like MIDI buttons on the push or anything, but like map a couple of different perks, like from metallic to organic to snare-ish. You just map like a 16 on your pads, and as it goes, just randomly like tap, when you feel one, when you feel another one, and you just do it once over the whole track. You don't create loops out of that. You just hit and throw in there a couple of sounds that you will never hear again, and this might be just enough to have new interesting sounds so your ear can, and Dermot, that we love very much, and that is our friend and common manager. He read that book like few years ago that was like more targeted towards pop music, but in pop music there's this 8-second rule that every 8 second maximum there needs to be a change in a new element or an element that is removed, and this is how you keep people's attention the whole way. Obviously we're maybe more on the 16-second side of things with our vibe, but it's a good reminder to always, like, every few bars just have a little
Yeah, definitely. And one more thing I'll add is I also wanted to do this even though it's not done, and I tell people only submit finished work, but I wanted to see what it felt like to have a demo of mine, which everyone else is doing, live streamed in front. It's really scary. It's like really, I was
Yeah.
like really nervous. At first I had this track like higher in the queue, and then I kept bumping it down because I didn't want to do it. So I'm just gonna, I said it earlier in the stream, but like actually like hats off to everyone who submits a demo.
Yeah, totally.
You're really making yourself vulnerable, and now I firsthand know what it's like to be on the other side. It's not easy. It's really not easy. So
and
you know.
and it's really important to learn to build criticism, to learn to improve our response to criticism, because like personally, like and I'm still sometimes very kind of sensitive to that, and I don't want to show it to my girlfriend or show it to like some friends, and you want feedback, but you kind of like also don't want feedback,
Yeah,
because you're wide open, you're so vulnerable,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't really resonate with it, and then you're like, what, the last 40 hours of my life are just gone
Totally.
into the and I think it's important that, like, we take some criticism. It's also important to know when to not take it. It's also
Mhm,
important. It's also important when you also set your boundaries of, like, you know what, I actually love the volume of the clap in this track, and I
Yeah.
love where it sits. And we always give feedback to like what we consider our own like ideal top track, but this is unique to everyone. And also, if you really love an element that we said earlier today, hey, remove that element. But if in your feeling it's really cool element, like, stick with it,
Yeah.
run with it, and this is really important that you gain confidence on what you love and respect it, because down the line it's our expression and uniqueness. So it's very cool that everyone throws in their tracks and are open for criticism. I think it's the best way to grow and keep learning.
Definitely. Absolutely. And I'll just say, I didn't even think about this in advance. I was so preoccupied with whether you would like it or not like it or have critical feedback. And actually, you actually said something which is something that's actually better than either of the two and lives outside of it, which is it sounds like me, And at the end,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think this is a lesson, or something there for everyone, which is, someone's always going to think it's good. Someone's always going to think it's bad. But, having something, and it goes back to what you were saying, having something that is you, and yourself, that's ultimately, what it's all about. And that's ultimately, don't try to sound like other people, take inspiration from other people, but really make sure it's your voice and you're thinking about what you're trying to say and what you're trying to communicate.
Totally. And I think the more, that's the thing. And your production journey has been like only a few years, and I've really saw your fast progress, and how like your sound is definitely like more and more shining through the choice of sounds you make, the type of grooves you create, the kind of arrangement you like, down the line, it shows more and more the more you make music. And there was this small book that is like Still Like an Artist that I recommend to everyone. I think it's a yellow book, and it says if you copy one person, it's plagiarism and it's illegal. But if you copy 500 inspirations and make it yours, you become who you are. And there's no such thing as like pure creativity. We always get inspired by
100%.
our whole journey of music, from what you listen in high school to where you're at now. And we just take a little bit from everyone. We take a little kind of like sound design from Jarvis Vaughan, and then you're gonna
Yep.
take a little melodic pattern from Santana, whatever it is. And down the line, it's all those little pieces that become tools, and the more you express, the more that toolkit is unique to you, and then you make your own thing by spending
Absolutely.
1,000 hours in the studio.
Completely agree. So this is a good time to wrap it up, and I'm gonna leave with anyone who's in the Twitch stream. I'm sharing a link which is to Kora's mailing list. Definitely keep up to date with what he's doing. Obviously, he's a very sweet person. He's a very talented person. He's a great DJ. If you get a chance to see him live, he's a guy who does it all. So definitely stay tuned and keep abreast of what he's doing. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for submitting. This is on a personal note, these Discord demo days. There's I forgot who made. Sometimes there's things that you do for the crowd. There's things that you do for for the money, and there's the things that you do for yourself. And I love this thing because it's beneficial to other people, but it's also, I love doing this so much. I love how people find it helpful, and I love hearing and discovering new artists, and it just brings me a lot of joy to do this, and I'm glad to have Mike join me for this month.
Totally. Atish, thank you so much for having me. Thanks to everyone who shared music with us today. Apologies to the ones that we didn't have time to
Yes.
run through. We really appreciate you guys sending your demo. Maybe I'll actually take time to go through them in case there's something for one of our labels. and I want to say thanks, Atish, for being like a guide and an inspiration for so long in the scene for me. Like when I was like kind of starting off, considering doing this more seriously and all that stuff, like right when I started following you, you were always like sharing very honest, authentic, blog posts, your mailer, all that stuff is like, it's coming from like very honest place, either it's like mental health in the industry, either it's like how to leave your corporate job and jump into the music world. Like there's no myths and kind of like making it shiny and cute. You make it real, the real way it is. You do mentorship and all that stuff, and I see this as like something very inspiring for me that is following somehow your path. And I want to thank you to the name of probably many other artists that are grateful for you doing that. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that, and especially coming from you, and just watching your growth over the last few years is well deserved, man. I'm really I don't want to sound like a mentor figure or whatever, but I'm proud of you, man. Like you're just you're just killing it, man. You're just on it, and looking forward to where it all goes from here.
And looking forward to play together. I will be like the next step.